Asmodeus. My friend Veronica is back. Veronica needs some lip balm. Okay. Yeah, there you go. Now, this video is probably not going to be quite as long as the Lilith video, but there's a very good reason for that, and that is that we had to cover a lot of ground. We had to talk a lot about what Lilith was not, as well as what Lilith is. So, in this video, we are going to go into the demon Asmodeus and talk a little bit about his famous friends. My snack tonight, I hope you like red vines. I was a little bit disappointed to discover that they have not only high fructose corn syrup, but also red number 40. But that's okay because I got the theater pack and that has like 5 red vines in it, so I also grabbed us a couple of Diet Dr. Peppers out of the fridge. If you want a regular Dr. Pepper, I can grab you one of those. Do you want? Is Diet okay? I like the Diet. Yeah, that's satisfying. My favorite thing to do is to drink the Dr. Pepper with a red vine. Oh, that's a good sound. Okay, so we're gonna talk about Asmodeus. He's also called Asmodee or Ashmodai. Each of the 7 deadly sins is ascribed to a demon, and Asmodeus is the demon of lust. Now, in the book of Tobit, and also in the Talmud, he is described as lusting after different women, such as Bathsheba, and also some of the wives of King Solomon. And we'll get more into that in a moment, because actually Asmodeus and King Solomon go way back, and uses that term frenemies anymore. Frenemy. But King Solomon and Asmodeus are frenemies. And then there's also analogous figures in Zoroastrian and Islamic texts. So there's a entity in Zoroastrian religion named Aishma who stands in opposition to the truth and is depicted as being an embodiment of wrath, and holding a bloody mace. And then in Islam, he is called Sakhar, and that talks about a story between him and King Solomon, where King Solomon left for a while, and Asmodeus came and decided to sit on the throne one day, and then he was like, oh, I like this, so he just stayed. And then when Solomon came back, obviously Asmodeus was sitting there in his throne looking very pleased with himself, and Solomon threw him into a box made out of stone and chained the box shut and threw it into the ocean. So Sakhar is a word describing him as being like a stone or inside a stone, basically. Now, in the Talmud, Asmodeus is mostly depicted as a really likable and good-humored entity. And at one point, Solomon even tricks him into helping construct the Holy Temple. There was this kind of stone that Solomon wanted to use to build the temple, and these stones couldn't be worked using metal tools. They were too hard. The only way that you can cut these stones is there's this worm. Okay, you gotta stay with me here. There's this worm called a shamir. And that was the only way that you could cut these stones so they could be constructed into the temple. Do you want one? Here. Yeah, eat them. I shouldn't be eating them as much as I want to. They have high fructose corn syrup, HFCS, and red number 40. So, in order to get these worms to cut these rocks, you had to talk to Asmodeus, because Asmodeus knows how to talk to the worms, and no one else knew how to do that. This is also the part from the Book of Solomon where there was was like a story about a ring. That allowed Solomon to control the demons. And I think that was something he was gifted around this time. Now, we're going to talk about a text called the Book of Tobit. It's part of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but it is not included in Jewish canonical texts by some because it was written much later. So, this text depicts Asmodeus lusting after this young woman named Sarah. Sarah smile. Sarah. And because he was so in love with her, he would not let her get married. She marries 7 different guys. And on each wedding night before they can consummate their marriage, Asmodeus shows up and murders them. It's super fun. I mean, sorry. It's the demon sleepover video. I'll use one swear. And then, the 8th time, she gets married to this guy named Tobias, which is why it's called the Book of Tobit. It's the same name, it's just in different languages. And he had been counseled by the Archangel Raphael, to make a kind of incense out of the heart and liver of a fish to repel the demon. Now, that is some serious dedication, because I can only imagine what it would be like to have to consecrate your marriage while you were burning a rancid smelling heart and liver of a fish in your wedding chamber. That's also kind of effed up. Excuse me, get a little burpy with the soda. Asmodeus is also mentioned in the Malleus Maleficarum, and according to that text, his adversary is Saint John, who is one of the 12 apostles, and a disciple of John the Baptist. And then, as we mentioned, being frenemies with King Solomon. Now, there were certain times that were supposed to be like more powerful for him. And one of those periods of time, according to some 16th century demonologists, was the month of November. But some other demonologists consider his power to be greater under the sign of Aquarius, specifically between the dates of January 30th and February 8th. And he is ranked 32nd of all the demons, and I believe that is by Johann Weyer's Pseudomonarchia Daemonum. He belongs to the legions of Amaimon, and he also has 72 legions under his own command. He's also the demon of gambling. So any games of chance. They get too waterlogged and then they kind of like close up. So then finally, we're going to talk about what he looks like, which is that according to the Ars Goetia, which is part of the Lesser Key of Solomon, so you know that that guy knows, he's able to breathe fire out of his 3 heads. And his 3 heads are a bull, a man, and a ram. And he has a tail. Tail. Like a serpent. And then some other sources describe him as being partially lame. Because one of his legs is like a rooster's leg. And I'm sure there's some wordplay in there about cocks. You are able to come over tonight and have this spend the night. Especially because my beautiful spouse is off having a spend the night of his own with his best friend, and they're watching a bunch of movies. So it's fun that we get to have, we've been, spending a lot of time together here in the house. And I love him to pieces, and if he never left, I wouldn't mind. But it's also nice for both of us to get a night to ourselves with our friends. I'm really glad that you guys could come and join me for this slumber party. I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please comment down below. Like, share, subscribe. Spread the word. Tell your friends if you think they would enjoy this. I hope that you're having a great night, and I'll see you again